How's it going, guys and gals? We are playing a pot limit $25 buy-in cash game. I don't play a lot of pot limits anymore. In fact, the only reason I started playing them is because a friend of mine that does very well at it. When we would go out and play cash together, I would end up jumping on the no limit tables, and he would jump on the limit. And almost every time that we went and left, he was walking out double, sometimes even triple his buy-in. And he has a pretty uh, distinct set of rules, and I'll tell you his rules because I started using them, and I found that it actually has worked for me. Um, and basically, oh, hang on just one second. Basically, those set of rules are. Sorry about that. I had to pause it for a second, but anyway, it's basically like this. You're obviously going to be playing with suited connectors. You're trying to make big hands. You're not trying to bluff people. You're not. You're not trying to play out of position. And but the general one of the biggest things that I found different in his game and my game when it came to pot limit was after the turn comes, he won't call a bet if it's a big bet, with a pot, for example, or even three-quarters of it, if he doesn't have, I can't remember exactly what the number is, but I want to say like 14 to 15 outs. And we had this debate, and I remember saying, well, you know, you're still priced in. If you've got even let's say you only have 8 outs, depending on the pot size, you're still priced in. Well, his argument is I can I can play more pots just on the first four cards without calling on the river or to see the river and be more profitable. But it's hard not to believe him because I've watched him consistently make money. So I actually tried it, and I just stopped making those calls on the river, and unless I had at least 12 outs, so let me say a flush draw with a gut shot, for example. Um, those are that was one of the things that I changed in my play, and when I did it, I found that I became more profitable. So take it for what it is. I know mathematically, you may still have the right odds. And now, don't get me wrong. If every player at the table is in that table and the pot is just huge, then yes, I'm going to make that call. You know, uh, but it's just one way that I changed my game. Um, in pot limit, and I've watched it with my own eyes. I've watched it with my own eyes. Um, him being profitable, and I adjusted it and I increased my profits doing that in pot limit. So anyway, it's just one extra thing. Just you can try it, and if it works for you over a duration of time, then I'm glad it helped out. Jack three suited. These are hands that we don't want to be calling raises with. We don't want to try to get lucky. If someone raises us, I'm just going to fold the hand. Not only will we be out of position, unless it's a small blind, but um, it's just it's just a garbage hand. Now in no limit, if I've got a suited jack or a suited queen, if the table will let me limp in and see the pot for the minimum, I will make these calls, uh, because I've seen mostly in person tournaments where I'm playing, or mostly in tournament cash games. I've seen where um, players have limped in with. Well, I had one situation where I decided to fold a queen four suited for the minimum bet of $2, and the whole table ended up getting in there, and two players got all their chips in and there was even an ace on the flop. So I had literally the second nut hand. So for that reason, I will do that if I believe that there's players that can make potential mistakes. If I don't believe players can make mistakes like that, then I won't do it. Now this bet represents that he has an ace, um, or he's at least got two pair. He's got something here, and he doesn't want everybody to draw out. He's bet the pot. When you see someone bet the pot like that out of position, then you have to figure they've hit pretty big, and they don't want it. They don't want to give you odds to call, so they're going to do everything they can to stop that. If this is limp to me, then I will limp in 5-3. I got another story on 5-3 offsuit just like this, and I'm not saying when you go by, and if you've seen that, oh well, I had a 5-3, I better play it every time. I'm not saying that, but I had a situation just like this, in fact, last night when I was playing cash in person, where someone raised the minimum, and this was a no limit, and I was in the small blind, and the whole table called, and I looked down at 5-3 unsuited, and I was like, forget this hand. I'm not even calling this little minimum raise, even while I was in the small blind. Well, of course, I would have made a straight on the turn, and a guy ended up getting probably 70 to 80% of his stack all in, and those things suck. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is when you call bad hands, if you can get in there cheap, I don't find a problem with it if you believe that there will be players that will make mistakes, because a lot of players make mistakes and they can't get away from hands even though they let other people see the flop for cheap. If you let me see the flop for cheap, there's a good chance I'm going to call a lot of times, and if you hit your ace and then you shove all in, well, I can have two pair on you. So you got to remember that. King 8 offsuit on the button. Even if this is limp to me, I'm still not going to call it, because for me to continue with this, I'm going to have to get at least two pair. He does a max raise. It's indicative of a big pair. And that's indicative of a big pair, maybe ace king. Alright, so $480, $35, he's maxed it. And he folds. He could have been just trying to squeeze over here. Alright, 10-8 off. I'm going to try to limp in here if I can. Only because I'm going to try to make a straight. And we will call this raise. Minimum raises aren't going to do anything. Yeah, we really have no draws here. This is a weak bet. I don't know if this player will fold, but I'm going to go ahead and try to get him off it. If he comes over the top, we'll just fold. But it's just such a weak bet. It could be believable that I have a king. Alright, so it works. If you're going to try those moves, then just be willing to get away from it right after. He could have been minimum raising with a small pair, and when the king hit, he obviously believed I had it. Now, king queen, as opposed to